Okay, thank you, everybody. With that, I'm delighted to introduce our speaker today, Jim Hunt with BioSweep, Nebraska. And I can't wait to find out what this contraption is over here, because I was a little afraid to turn my back to it. We'll see. So thank you for being here.
Okay, I appreciate that, Steve. Thanks for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. It's kind of humbling to be in front of a group of people that are entrepreneurial, and I think, Dave, you stated entre-builders. If anything I say today is of any value to you, or there's something I can share with you that will help your business, or just an experience you want to share with me, let me know after the meeting. I was in at BNI Chapter for 11 years, which is a great networking type of situation to be in. And we never spoke more than maybe 5 minutes tops. And so 15 to 20 minutes is a little bit intimidating, but I'll keep trying to keep it going here. A little bit about the essentials. Who am I and what do I do? I'm Jim Hunt. I own BioSweep, Nebraska. There's a history to that, and I'll get into that. But as far as family goes, I still live on a farm near Lincoln where I grew up. I don't farm it. I manage it for my family. And plus run the business. I've been married to my wife Cheryl for 37 years. We have 3 kids. 2 of them live in Houston, Texas. Granddaughter also in Texas, and my oldest son and my 2 grandsons and his wife live here in Lincoln. I was born in Lincoln, Nebraska in the year 1959 BD. Does anybody know what BD is? Let's see how old I am. Before Devaney. Little humor there, very little. But it was a time when we used to listen to football games on the radio while we were playing football in the yard. So I've been around here for a while. Yeah, you remember too. By the way, this looks like a very worthy thing to visit with the solar energy. My cards are back there on the table. They're similar to those in size. So if you want to pick one up before you go, that'd be fine. How did we get started in the business? First of all, we are a surface decontamination and deodorization business. How did we get started in this? What was the path? I worked for a grocery distributor for 20 years, unloading trucks, running forklifts, really kind of mindless work. Didn't have a lot of contact with other people during the day, but over time, I started to have this feeling that there was something more I could do with my life. Crazy thing about it is we started an Amway business. Does anybody remember when they used to draw circles on board and go through the whole 642 progression? Did that for several years. That forced me to go out and speak in front of people. I was just scared to death of doing that. I joined a Toastmasters group, which is a great organization. It helped me kind of get over some of that fear. And while the Amway business didn't turn out to be all that much, it got me thinking more entrepreneurial minded. And I eventually left that company and started a remodeling business. We were remodeling bathrooms and showers solely. And in that process, I had to use a lot of adhesives. These adhesives were silicone. They produce a lot of fumes. I was getting terrible headaches at night. I was at a home show. There was a guy selling air purifiers, and this is honest to God truth. I said, I was tired, and I said, well, that thing take silicone fumes out of the air, and he picked it up and said, I don't know, here, take it and try it. So we got along real well from the beginning. And Gil Nissen was his name, and Gil went on he was selling air purifiers, and he sold them to me. He went on to start a business putting these little air purifiers in cars to deodorize. And he asked me, Jim, if I can turn this into a franchise, would you be interested? I said, sure. I was using them on the job, taking fumes out of the air in people's houses, and they were buying them from me once they saw how effective they were. So, 2007, we started a franchise called Odor Out. It lasted a grand total of 6 months. I marketed to every car dealer in eastern Nebraska 3 times in 4 months. So I was on the road constantly. What we found out was that technology was not effective in the long term. And while it did a good job at first, pretty soon that smell came back in the car. Everyone quit odor out except for me. There were 12 other franchises around the country, they all quit. But I was determined because I knew that there was an answer out there somewhere to remove smells from cars, houses, apartments, everything things we run into on a day-to-day basis. So over the next 6 years, we did them all. Foggers, all different types of fogging, thermal fogging, wet fogging. We use Novexium in cars. I'm using all these words. You people have no idea what those products are. But I'm trying to illustrate that we didn't quit. We kept trying to find the most effective source or product to use. The early days were EcoQuest, as I might have mentioned. That I was a salesman of air purifiers, and then Odor Out. After Odor Out, we became known as Sniffers, and that's what we've been since about 2008. Sniffers was not my idea. It was a name from some New York media company that we needed a new name, and they came up with it. So in 2013, we bought the BioSweep technology, and that is this unit here is a BioSweep unit. This is the only time I'm going to use a $50 word. It's a photocatalytic oxidation generator. In other words, yeah, everybody knows what that is. Motorboat watermelon, right? Yeah. And the only thing you need to know is this is the magic green button. When I push that, the magic happens. I'm really not even going to get into how this works.
Push it.
Well, we don't have a power source right now, so we would have to clear the room in about 30 seconds. I'm really not going to get into how that technology works. I'd love to have a conversation with you, but what I'm here to talk about a little bit more today is just the parts of business, things that might be interesting to you, and things that we went through that might help you. Of course, surface decontamination. We want to decontaminate a surface, and that'll remove the odor, and that's about as far as it goes with my explanation. The people that use this kind of service are auto dealers, homeowners. I do a lot of work for the realtors in Lincoln to deodorize homes when they're on the market. Apartment managers, or property managers, I guess, would be a better market term. And commercial businesses as well that run into problems from time to time. There's been some crazy things we've done through the years. We've done about every kind of animal smell there is. Good grief. Cigarette smoke and pet odors, of course, are the two main ones. But also fire damage, musty mildew smell, and those kind of things. How do we market our service? The number one thing that we've ever done was networking. Face-to-face networking. Meetings like this, there's a lot of different, there's BNI and Center Sphere and other opportunities like that all over the place. The other part is face-to-face in a business. Try to get past the gatekeeper sort of thing. Find out who the gatekeeper is. We use our website, our Facebook site. I really leverage LinkedIn, and if anybody has more ideas on LinkedIn, how to leverage that, I'd love to have that conversation. I don't just link with anybody. I have to know them. I have to have some kind of relationship with them before they can become one of my links. But I am happy to share all of those people with other people that I trust. And then other types of social media. My daughter went to college for graphic design and communications, and so I use her for my marketing, and anything technical, I kind of turn it over to her. Some of the things we've learned, and then I don't know where I'm at on time, but I'll try to go through these. The first thing I learned was, and this was in a remodeling business, was to have an ownership mentality, not an employee mentality. I made a lot of mistakes right away in the remodeling business. Basically my own, just getting in a hurry and thinking more like an employee than I actually owned it. And when it started costing me money, then it kind of got through my thick skull. The other part about it is it's your schedule. That's the greatest thing about owning your own business, right? You set your own schedule, but that's the worst thing too, because it's hard to be faithful to that schedule and get up and do it every day. The other thing I learned, or another thing, is I have strengths and you have strengths that you don't know you have until you get out there and kind of push forward. For me, it was in the spiritual realm. I found out a lot of things that have been placed inside me by my Creator, that I'm honoring Him by using them to help others. Another thing is there's lots of people out there that want to help you. You're not alone. We're in a room full of people that probably want to help each other. I just got that feeling. And so go ahead and tap into that. Find a way to help them maybe first, and then they'll come along your side. Know your product, and even more than that, know your competition's product. That is just, and not speak about them in a negative way, but find a way to compare yourself to them that can edify them, but yet show that your product is better. You have to ask for what you want. I found that out pretty fast with auto dealers. The general managers are extremely busy in an auto dealership. They have anywhere, the big dealerships have 15 to 20 deals going all the time. Those guys, if you can even get in front of them for 10 seconds, you're lucky. So I just learned to step forward, tell them who I was, exactly what I was going to do, how much it cost, and I guarantee everything I do 100%. And that seemed to be the best way for me. Now, every market's going to be a little different, but you have to really know what you're asking for and be willing to do it. Under promise and over deliver, that goes without saying. Do what you say you're going to do. Listen and seek to serve your customer first. That's very hard for me. And I still have to practice that constantly to remember I got one mouth and two ears. Just to kind of be quiet and listen and ask a question and then wait for the answer. Don't try to put your expectations on it. Learn to manage customer expectations. You're going to have, it's about 1 out of 100 in my experience, customers that just are very difficult to please. If I do a good job ahead of time of managing, listening, figuring out what their expectations are, and then trying to deliver those, we usually have a little bit better success. Be flexible, be willing to do small jobs. I don't know how many small, you don't make money from them, but you have to do them. You have to get the experience, what I'm doing, by those small jobs. And it's funny how those will lead to larger jobs more often than not. Somewhere down the road, that person's going to recommend you because you treated them right. Be solution-oriented, not profit-oriented. We have to be solution-oriented because we run into so many crazy things. I'm always scratching my head. Where's the odor coming from? How am I going to, what's the source? How are we going to fix it? Set goals and pursue accountability relationships. I have a group of men I meet with 4 times a year. We call it our board of directors. And we hold each other accountable for our goals that we set. They could be goals in any area of life. But that's very helpful to keep yourself sharp. I have to admit when I'm wrong and when I've failed and fix it immediately. Don't put it off. Don't try to get to it tomorrow. Try to get to it as soon as possible and fix whatever didn't go right. A couple other things at the end, just the things I have to remind myself and really help in business is remember that every day is a blessing. And I believe that each person that crosses my path is a divine appointment. I believe my Creator put them in my path for a reason, and I need to treat them with that in mind. One thing you might ask yourself, or a couple things, is what is your foundation? If you're wanting to start a business, or even if you're in business, to go back and revisit that once in a while. What is your foundation? Is it a spiritual foundation? Is it just some goals that you've set that you truly believe in, your product or your service? And why do you want to own your business? Why? What is your why? Why do you get up and do that every day? You might have that nailed down, but a year from now, that you need to keep asking yourself that question because it might change. So those are some things that we've learned. We can deodorize any enclosed airspace. That's as simple and as complicated as it gets. It can take anywhere from 3 hours in a car to 8, 10, 12, 20 hours. I do large commercial buildings. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of whether we can be effective. We can take out any odor as long as we can identify the source. And so with that, that's about all I have.
I got a question. In the news last night, there was a big lead story about Costco wanting to locate a new chicken production facility in Lancaster County.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they interviewed a bunch of neighbors and neighbors are very concerned, primarily because of the potential odor. And, you know, livestock presents some special challenges. A, we need it, but nobody wants it next door, okay? So would this technology be a potential solution?
That's a great question, Steve, and while this is not a specific application for this particular machine, there is oxidative technology, machines, units that can be installed in those buildings that run 24/7, much like a home air purifier on steroids. You know, of course, when the animals are outside, what are you going to do? But that technology has been designed and used to be applied in those containment buildings. So it's a great question. So, yes, sir.
You had mentioned your competition. Who is your competition? What is their technology?
Sure.
But how do you, what's your difference?
Probably our main competition would be a restoration service provider, such as a ServPro or who am I thinking of, Paul Davis. They use a technology, ozone technology mostly, that just to categorize it in a term that we'll understand is like a dinosaur. It takes much, much longer. Ozone is not nearly as effective as hydrogen peroxide gas and purified oxygen. And as a matter of fact, the Paul Davis franchise here uses me on jobs that they can't quite get the smell out. So while they have a worthy product, it's truly not as effective as what we have. That's a great question, though. Yes?
You mentioned hydrogen peroxide, so can you, in a simplified, what does that mean, or what are you doing with it?
Sure. There's a catalyst on the inside of this machine. It's a paint, and it has one of its ingredients, it's titanium dioxide. There's only 3 people that know the actual formula of the coating on the inside of that, and it's in a vault. I don't know what it is. There are 6 ultraviolet bulbs in there that operate at 254 nanometers. They reflect off of that surface, and it creates every kind of hydrogen and oxygen, hydroxyl, every kind of combination of hydrogen and oxygen. But the process produces a vapor of hydrogen peroxide and purified oxygen. And those 2 things together are the 2 most powerful oxidizers known. Another thing I might point out is it's a green technology. Just an hour after the machine goes off, all the levels of hydrogen and oxygen in the enclosed airspace have returned to normal. So it's just a matter of ventilation at that point. That's a good question.
You're cleaning some molecules.
We are destroying organic and chemical compounds by removing molecules from them, molecules, so that they cannot be that substance anymore. So, yes, sir.
Does that mean that you have to vacate the premises?
Absolutely, that's a great question. People, pets, and plants have to be out of the area during treatment, but like I say, an hour later, you can return to the area. Yes, ma'am, there was a question back here.
Several. So what happens if you stay?
It's at that level of hydrogen peroxide and oxygen, advanced oxygen or activated oxygen. It's harmful to lung tissue and eye tissue. I wear a full face respirator when I go into an area and check the machines and such. But it does return to normal a short time later. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so with the use of hydrogen peroxide and stuff, does that disinfect the surfaces? You're saying it,
Yes.
but you don't make that as a claim?
I cannot say we sanitize because, to be honest with you, nobody sanitizes. You cannot completely remove 100% of every type of pathogen or anything. Most of that is because it can be easily reintroduced. We found that in hospital-acquired infections when we were dealing with hospitals. We could do a great job, but as soon as they brought a piece of equipment from another part of the hospital, you've contaminated your floor. So, yes, ma'am. I know she's got one more, and then I'll get yours. Go ahead.
So how long would it take for a 100 square foot house with a 20-year smoker how long would it take for you to deodorizing that? And then question number 2 is comparing your technology versus those other sealed paint. What's the difference?
Well, first of all, there are sealant paints that do a good job, but you really want to clean the surface first. Tobacco residue will decompose for years once it is on the paint or in the paint. And that decomposing, that substance, the gas coming off of that is worse than secondhand smoke. So you've got firsthand smoke, secondhand smoke, what you breathe out, and then what's filtered out and comes and is decomposing. So in my opinion, in my experience, it's best to remove as much of that as possible in a heavily smoked or soiled surface, and then we apply our vapor after that. So did that answer your question?
Number the second one, first one, how long would probably take?
How big a house was it?
100 square foot, single
100
level bungalow.
100 square feet or 1,000?
1,000.
Oh, okay. That's this room. Generally something like that's probably 12 to 14 hours. I haven't seen it, or we determine treatment time based on cubic footage. But there's a lot of other things that go into that, such as am I going to have any loss of vapor? Where do I have to seal? What kind of substance am I treating to remove? And so that'd probably be a pretty good guess. So, yes, sir?
Are there different sizes of your?
Well, there's a larger unit, and I do have 3 of each size, but they both have a 240 cubic, what am I trying to say? Cubic feet per minute fan in them that pushes out the vapor. But they both produce, these are the second generation. The first are that tall from the floor, and they weigh about 80 pounds. So if you're carrying them up 3 floors of stairs, so I like the smaller ones. They fit in cars better too.
You don't have to vent anything to the outside if everything is taken care of, right?
Yes, and we want to completely, as much as possible, seal the entire area when we want to maintain the gas and maintain a gas pressure on the surface for effectiveness. Yes, ma'am.
So can you get rid of like paint smells, and how does it work with like furniture if you feel like the scent is like deep far down into the furniture? Does that make sense?
2 good questions. Yes, we do destroy any VOC, volatile organic compound, new carpet, new furniture, paint, things like that. The second part of the question, most of the things I've seen in that situation are cat or dog stuff in foam. No, we will not penetrate that foam down to maybe 1/8 of an inch. We do pre-treat it and try to treat it that way, but that's a very difficult situation. Yes, ma'am.
Are they using this technology in hospitals such as like ICUs and such not?
There are oxidative technologies that they can use, not this particular one. Hospitals are more concerned with showing that they're doing something, even if it's the wrong thing. The insurance company's happy if they're doing something because it makes them less liable for an acquired infection. I can have that discussion with you. There's some things I could share with you. Sir, do you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yes. So were you continuing serving the auto dealerships and other businesses with these other methods?
Yes.
As you were continually looking for
Yes.
a newer method?
Yes, we were. And 2 of them in particular were very effective. However, I'd get out of the car and I was covered with sticky stuff. And I'd go home at night like that, no matter what. It was a mess. It was a cleanup mess. It was an effective product on tobacco smoke, though. There are companies that are using some of these things still. There's a lot of things out there. We are the most effective.
So how did your client base adjust to each new technology?
That's a great question.
Now I got the latest one.
Uh-huh.
Now I got this.
Yeah, I have probably a dozen of the same guys or customers now that I did when I started out. It's Nebraska, and if you will work hard and be honest with people and try to solve their problem, they're pretty much going to stick with you. I just was upfront with them all the time and did my best to solve their problem. And so we were very happy when we came across this technology. So, yes, ma'am.
So I'm on a board for a manor, and we have a occupant that has lived in her home for 20 years and has smoked in that home for 20 years.
Mhm.
When she's we're thinking we're gonna take it down to the studs.
Yep.
But,
There will be a lot of tear out, I'm guessing. Carpet, maybe some drywall. I would like to look at it though, because we can usually save a lot of that by pre-treating the walls and ceilings and then putting machines in. We do a lot of houses and apartments like that. But I would wanna, give you an honest assessment by looking at it. So, do we need to tie it up, or you got time?
We've still got some questions, we've got a few more minutes, so.
Okay, yes, sir?
With the treatment, obviously, it would be best to put it in, let it run the full time, right? So are you doing a lot of the work at nights when people aren't in the office, or if you have to break treatments up, then do you do that, or is it, if an office, a big office space needs a 24-hour treatment, are you over the weekends, or what's?
We work a lot of hours. Luckily, I don't have kids playing baseball and doing all this stuff. And my wife knows that, I might be getting up at 2 in the morning to go look at machines and make sure everything's running. So we really work with the customer as far as that. I love to keep the machines running 24 hours a day. Cars during the day, houses at night. Whatever is most. But that's a great question. We do try to work with your schedule. We're doing a house tomorrow night, and the people are actually they're kind of excited about it. They're backing their RV up in the driveway. They're gonna camp out in the driveway. So, but okay.
what about people around them, like, if you were to do like an apartment? Like-
We seal everything up. I've only had one out of, I don't know, hundreds of apartments. I don't know if I'm to 1,000 yet, but where a little bit of vapor leaked, and it was a cable box. There was a conduit that went up that I didn't see in a closet, and I wasn't able to seal it. But we do them frequently with, in an apartment complex. So I try to do them during the day when people are gone, but, Bob?
Hey, testimonial, Jim took care, I bought my daughter a car 2 years ago from a smoker, and he took care of it, and I was in the car, just happened to be this last weekend, and there's just no hint of smoke whatsoever.
Thank you. Great testimonial. So, yes, sir?
So, okay, this works for odors. Does it affect any, bug infestation or anything?
There are people that do bed bug, that use this for bed bug treatment. I don't particularly want to do that. There are some things involved with it that I just don't want to get involved with. But yes, it can do that. You need a lot of heat for one thing, so you have to bring in auxiliary heat. I try to keep things as low overhead as possible, so that's a great question.
Another question. Could you clarify just real quick, you talk about your journey of all these different products, and it seems like they all have their side effects, but the common theme was it wasn't a forever solution. When this is done, because it attacks it at a molecular level, is that it? It's a long-term solution, you never do it again, it doesn't come back?
Yes, it is. That's a great commercial. I'm glad you used the word molecular, because I have a hard time saying that. But that is the crux of the whole thing, is we are destroying the molecule that is making, with other molecules, making the smell. So, thanks for wrapping that up. You did a great job. I didn't plant him there.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'd like to give a Focus Sweet mug.
Ooh, sweet.
And with that,
Thank you.
please join us next week. We'll be back here again with another great speaker. So thank you for being here. Hang around as long as you like. There's no need to rush off. I'm sure Jim can hang around and
Sure.
answer some questions. If you have more for him, come up and get his business card and ask you more questions one-on-one. Try to meet somebody new before you leave and get their card. So with that, we'll see you next week.